Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, the board is participating in an equity workshop that will be facilitated by NSBA consultant, Ms. Mary Furtakis, who will join us virtually. We will now call the equity workshop to order at 1 p.m. on April 14, 2021. Mrs. Bass, please call the roll.
District 1, Barbara McQuinn. Here. District 2, Alexandria Ayala.
Here.
District 3, Karen Braille. Here. District 4, Erica Whitfield.
Here.
District 5, Frank Barbieri.
Here.
District 6, Marcia Andrews.
Here.
District 7, Deborah Robinson.
We have a quorum with six board members present. Dr. Robinson will be a few minutes late and will join us shortly. Also joining us is Superintendent Dr. Donald Fenoy, General Counsel Sean Bernard, Kerry High, Counsel to the Inspector General, who will be joining us virtually today, and Board Clerk Carol Bass. Senior staff members will join us periodically as directed by the Superintendent. Viewers and listeners can access the meeting today by either watching on Comcast channels 234 and 235, UVerse channel 99, or by using the YouTube link on our webpage at palmbeachschools.org. We also offer a listening-only option, which the public can access by calling 561-357-5900 or toll-free at 1-866-930-7015. The meeting ID is 1-561-880-1124 #. This meeting is being transcribed by a closed captioner, so remember to speak at a reasonable pace. Will everyone please stand and join us for the pledge to be led by Superintendent Fenoy.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Bass, we have no public speakers, correct? Dr. Fenoy, it's all yours.
Yes, I just want to remind the board. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to remind the board in November and the progress we've made together as a leadership team over the last several months. Our last conversation at our equity workshop I thought was really, really good. It was very clear that the board was engaged, and then at our next workshop, that work extended. So very, very thankful that the board is engaged. The board identified we needed a strong foundation for the next strategic plan, so we have found a way to continue working with Mary Furtakis to ensure that we could develop a shared understanding of equity, reaffirm our commitment to this important work, and revise our mission and vision to inform the development of our new strategic plan. Today, we will spend the majority of our time looking at our mission and vision to determine if it truly reflects our equity stance as a district. The puzzle piece graphic is just a reminder about how it all works and fits together. The mission and vision we'll put forward by the board will inform the work of our strategic plan steering committee, which I'll be meeting with on Friday. They need that direction from the board as they begin to draft proposed goals over the next few months. As superintendent, it's important for me to be transparent with the board and the community regarding next steps. We've talked about this portrait of the graduate before, and so I wanted to address this before turning it over to Ms. Mary Furtakis. In speaking with our CAO and deputy superintendent, the portrait of a graduate is a long process, and we will engage upon that. I had the pleasure of meeting with our student representative yesterday, and so we are now poised to bring all of the students together in the next couple of weeks prior to his departure to the University of Florida. And then we will and from that point, once we get that foundation set, we'll be working with those students to help us with the portrait of a graduate, as it is a long and very systematic process that we go through. You know, there's also argument with the chicken and the egg, but I think we're poised. We'll be working with those student groups as we evolve that group over the next couple of years, so I'm excited about that. And lastly, I want to point out that this is an iterative process. So if our portrait of a graduate reveals our mission and vision strategic plan are misaligned, then the beauty of our whole process is that we can make the adjustments as a governing board. And so with that, I look forward to a productive workshop again today. And I turn it back over to Ms. Furtakis if she's available.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here and for bringing your full selves into the work that we're doing together. And I see that you've got the PowerPoint up, so we're going to dive in with just a few pre-pieces so that we can spend the bulk of our time doing this foundational work. As Dr. Fenoy has said, our task today is to get you to a finalized mission and vision because there's a domino effect going on, and a lot of things that are poised with work that staff is doing and with your strategic plan that is waiting for this piece. And I have full confidence that we will get there, and we might get through with not taking the 4 hours allocated for this. and that will be dependent on how focused we stay. So next slide, please. This is the outline of our agenda, and this looks familiar to of our processes that we've been using to build some practices into what you're doing as a district. And so what I'd like to do with Mr. Barbieri's assistance is go around the room and do the quick check-in with everyone with a word of phrase on how you are showing up today.
Mrs. McQuinn?
I'm checking in, re-energized. Visited Yeager Middle School this morning and met 3 incredible teachers on the Thank a Teacher tour, so helps to remember why we're here.
Ms. Ayala?
Determined to turn words into action.
Vice Chairwoman Brill?
Challenged both physically and mentally. Physically because I'm having a big problem seeing. So a lot of this is going to be in my memory because it's hard for me to read right now. And challenged intellectually and mentally because I think this is a great task that we're embarking on and I want to get it right with you.
And I'll say that I'm anxious, as Ms. Ayala, to get through the putting the words together and actually get on with the work. Dr. Fenoy?
I think right now I feel more determined than ever, because we still are witnessing atrocities that are happening to black men in particular in our country. And I think for me, this last one hits home as a military child and a person who saw his father wear a uniform every single day for 22 years. To see someone do all of the textbook things that you're supposed to do and still find yourself being pepper sprayed inside your own car helps me to realize that we have no choice but to get this right and to keep pushing so that we can make a change.
Mrs. Whitfield?
Thank you. Similar to Dr. Fenoy, I'm actually just really worried about our country and then our microcosm here at the school district. I think this work is really important more than ever now, but I think it's been hard to watch, kind of the way that the country is going right now, and then to come here and talk about this, it feels very timely and needed. But I'm not as excited as I've been in the past about it today, truthfully, and I'm just concerned. Thanks.
Mrs. Andrews?
Thank you. And the words, I appreciate everybody coming together with the words for the mission as we work on the vision today. But I really want to see how this equates to action, how it equates to results where it will make a difference for our children. And so the pieces that we're putting together are great. I think they're coming right along, but I'm waiting for the parts too that we get together and really make the action happen so that it can impact students, teachers, and our community, staff.
Dr. Robinson?
How about disbelieving?
Ms. Furtakas, you have all of us.
Okay, thank you, and I'll do my own check-in. I appreciate what's been shared, which I was also going to touch on. My word is determined also, directly related to what is going on in our country right now. That is, it's just been very heavy for many, many people and re-traumatizing. So I want to commend you all that you're engaging in this right now. It is incredibly timely. This is some of the most important work we can be doing because these have to be more than words. And I think we've been seeing also in some of the situations that were just mentioned, the timeliness of this and the urgency of it. So next on our agenda is our land acknowledgement. We are speaking to each other today from the historic lands of the Seminole, the Tequesta, and the Yeager tribes, as well as I am representing the Duwamish tribe. And I would like to honor and recognize the indigenous peoples of these lands who have been the historic and stewards and caretakers of the lands, waterways, and forests that we all have benefited from, continue to benefit from today at the expense of them as the original inhabitants. Next is our next slide, which is our norms. And I know this is a repetition, but hopefully as we're doing this and the more that we talk about it, you'll be seeing the value of these because they're coming up in all of our conversations. First is to speak our truth. This means that all perspectives are valid and all perspectives are partial. When we've had a chance to speak our truth, we need to sit back and listen to what others say. I want to pause right now and commend you all for how you exercised that norm in our last meeting, because as I read your statement, I see everyone's voices reflected in it. Also, next is to stay engaged. Again, some things are coming into this space with individuals that are heavy today, and that is going to challenge our ability to be engaged, but I want to encourage you to lean in. Expect to experience discomfort. We're having honest conversations about some things that we don't want just to be words, but want to be action. And so that may cause some discomfort, and that's a good thing because we're in a learning space. Next is to be aware of our intent and on our impact. We may intend for something to come out in a way, but the way it lands on an individual could be problematic or cause harm. If that happens, just say thank you and for bringing it to my attention, because as we know better, we can do better. Accept and expect non-closure. This is your third round of conversations, and so this will be ongoing. We are going to get closure today on what you want to move forward with as mission and vision, but that is only one step, and there will be things coming up more for that you will be continuing this work. And then maintaining our learner stance and open to new thinking. So next slide, please. This is our updated timeline. You can see where we are today and how things are continuing to march forward and how many pieces are all moving consecutively with this and with the board's work on this governance piece and the umbrella being the guiding part that's going to allow some of these other areas to move forward. Next slide. This is looking at what you have done. It may have felt long and pondering at some points, but look at where you are today. You're very much honing in on what's going to be doing in embedding what your vision and mission are for the district, and to ensure the work today is going to ensure that equity is remaining at the forefront of the work that's being done. Next slide. So now we're going to move into our first piece that we're going to do. We wanted to bring back the draft equity statement with a couple of pieces of follow-up. We're going to allot no more than 30 minutes for this piece to be able to give the board an opportunity to note for Ms. Villavicencio, who will be taking notes for us, about key stakeholder groups that you want to ensure are providing input on the statement, as well as to provide any additions to the draft. And this is not wordsmithing. We're not going to be making revisions to what you have. This is going to be included because you are also stakeholders, as stakeholder input, because there's already been one issue that has come up that a board member would like to be noted in this, and so we'll be taking any input you have that will be a part of this stakeholder input. So at this point, Ms. Villavicencio, is there anything that you need to or would like to add to this? If not, then we'll just go into this is the board's opportunity, and Mr. Barbieri, I'll need you to call on people as they're identifying key stakeholder groups they want to ensure are part of the conversation for providing input.
Okay, Ms. Furtakis, say your name. I should get that when it ends in a vowel. Villavicencio is indicating that she's fine with us moving forward with the board members at this point. So board members, input? Mrs. Whitfield?
Didn't we already put together a list? Can we not start with that list as like a basis to kind of save time?
Ms. Furtakis?
I do not have a list. If there has been something that's already been generated, I will need to defer to staff who may have that.
We have what was listed in the the statement, the draft statement, those historically marginalized folks. And in speaking with Mary, that's who she had recommended we prioritize to go back to look at this statement, just, given what the point of this whole exercise is. So if you want to look at the draft equity statement and see if there are any others, this is different than the strategic plan work, right? And people we were asking just to give feedback and perhaps participate in focus groups. These are really critical folks to make sure that your draft equity statement is all inclusive, right? So you want to be a little bit more pointed. So I just wanted to note that distinction.
Okay, Mrs. Whitfield?
Okay, well, then I would just say maybe we could start with the people on our Diversity and Equity Committee.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Oh, good, there you go.
Okay,
That was what.
Mrs. Andrews?
Hispanic Education Coalition.
Ms. McQuinn?
I'd like to include someone from the El Sol Center in Jupiter.
Mrs. Andrews?
Glades Career Readiness Roundtable.
Ms. Brill?
Thank you, and I don't know if there's a way to pull up the list of the people that are on that diversity committee so that we can see it, but I would like to also add in some of the Jewish organizations, perhaps the Jewish Federation of Palm Beach County and South Palm Beach County.
Mrs. Whitfield?
I think we should pull up that list too, because I think it'll cover quite a few of the ones we've talked about, but definitely Compass. I think we need to include representation from the Haitian American, Creole speaking communities if we can. In my community, Guatemala Maya Center is huge. I think we need to make sure we include them. But let's pull up the list because I think a lot of them will be on there.
Mrs. Andrews, go ahead while Ms. Bass is getting that to us.
The Tri-Cities Education Committee, Glades Region.
Ms. Bellacentia, can you put it on the screen for us? No, I meant the membership rather than, because Ms. Furtakis is not going to have that list in front of her.
What I didn't hear, and I may have missed it, are there disability rights groups?
Not so far, but we're looking at the list that makes up the diversity committee, and there's a lot of groups on there, so give us a minute to look at the screen.
Thank you.
Ms. Brill, did you have something you wanted to?
I think we could turn to Kevin McCormick for some of the disability groups, but definitely the Gold Coast Down Syndrome Organization, the Autism Society. I would look to those, but I think maybe we just put a note to ask for him for some guidance on the bigger groups that can give input and the smaller ones.
Mrs. McQuinn?
What is For the Children, Inc.?
It's in Lake Worth. It's a great organization. They do pre-K, aftercare. Reggie Durandis runs it.
Mrs. McQuinn?
I see that El Sol is on there. Your follow-up, please. Will we be able to get some feedback on who is actually actively participating at some point? Doesn't have to be today, but if we have a group or someone who's not, someone representing a group, for my part, I would like to know because I'd reach out to them.
Ms. Villavicentia, can you get that information to us? She says yes. Mrs. Andrews?
The Black Educators Caucus, I think that's Brother Carl's group.
Ms. Brill?
Thank you, and also the CARD Center, which is the Center for Autism and Related Disabilities.
What do you all think about bringing somebody in from the legislative delegation, since they've been involved in all of our issues in Tallahassee? Possibly we should get their input on all this too. So if we can contact the chair of the legislative delegation and see if we can get input from them. Mrs. Andrews?
Representation from the educational advisory committees of our whole Palm Beach County. I can tell you for sure we have a Royal Palm Beach, a Wellington, a Westlake, and these are people who commit their time each month to discuss these same issues that we're talking about. And we may have more all across the district, I don't know, but I do know the ones in my region as well as the Tri-Cities Education Committee.
Would that include the Education Foundation, Mrs. Andrews?
These are the community groups sponsored by the elected officials within their community. They represent the elected officials in the particular community.
Okay. Any others?
Maybe we could just copy and paste that list over
Yeah.
so we could see it all in one place and see if we're missing anyone.
Is there representation in any of the groups that, since I can't see it clearly, related to LGBTQIA issues?
Yeah, there's 2.
Yes, there are 2. So if you look at the handout Ms. Batts just gave us, they're all listed there also. Start on the bottom of page 1 and continue on page 2. Mrs. McQuinn.
You've read my eyes. It looks comprehensive. To look now that we're looking for specific groups, you've got Compass there. Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, if we use this entire list plus the ones that the board members have thrown out that aren't on this list, it should pretty well cover us, right? Everybody okay with that? Okay, Ms. Fidakis.
Just one other question. Are there any employee groups represented?
Go ahead, Mrs. Whitfield.
It's interesting you say that because that was kind of where my mind was going. I was thinking we should have somebody from that works in mental health within the community and or within our system there. And we have like the school counselors. They might have some real good input on equity since that's what they work within the systems a lot. So maybe we should include the school counselors group. And then I was thinking, I'm blanking on the name of it. It's that we have a couple of organizations in the community who do a lot of work on helping us to do that work. What do we call them? Keith, you're the one who would know it the best. The counselor association groups in the community. I'm sorry, I can't think of the name of it. Our co-located services, all those organizations.
So it's Palm Beach. Palm Beach School Counselors Association.
Now, I was thinking like them as well, but I was also thinking about all the co-located services that we have in our system that are bringing in mental health resources to our students. There's like 9 of them or 10 of them, right?
Yeah, so that's through the school district and through their agreements. So we can definitely pull them in through the Department of Mental Behavioral Health.
Okay, we'll just put a list of people in the community who work on mental health. Thank you. That's perfect.
Ms. Bro.
Thank you. So I'm thinking also of people that work in our guardianship program or foster care children. So maybe like Best Foot Forward, isn't that Mr. Barbieri, a group that works with foster care children? And also the, and I hope I'm not going too fast, but the American Council for Caregiving Youth.
Yeah, the American Association of Caregiving
thank you.
Youth and the George Snow Scholarship Fund. They work with a lot of students. Mrs. McQuinn.
Another group that's right across the street from us is Families First of Palm Beach County. And yeah, because they have, I don't remember how many now, but I know several. In particular, Riviera Beach Prep, and the district helps partially with that to fund the mental health therapist who is actually located at Riviera Beach Prep. And we have other schools, I just don't remember right now. But Families First would be a great group to have someone from.
Mrs. Andrews.
Are there any?
Go ahead, Mrs. Andrews.
I have two. I think we need to have someone representing the juvenile justice, the 15th Circuit. I sit on that for you. Megan, we have a person who is the chair of that, as well as someone from the Criminal Justice Commission. We have so many of our children that are a part of these processes. So the Juvenile Justice, 15th Circuit representative, as well as the Criminal Justice Commission.
Do we have any input from our teachers and our principals here?
I was thinking all of our bargaining groups should be
Right.
invited, or non-bargaining units, too.
Is there any group represented on the list that works specifically with your homeless population?
Ooh, fun, yes, let's do that. So we need Adopt a Family, we need the Lord's Place. Who else does homeless work?
Adopt a Family, Lord's Place. Anybody know of any other ones?
County, James Green.
What is it?
James Green with the
Oh,
county.
yeah, you could just do the county, bring them in.
They have
And
them all
then
together.
Birth to 22 is a good other good group.
Dr. Robinson?
Okay, so I'm sorry, because I'm not paying attention. What is this list? What are we doing?
Ms. Furtakis?
This is the list that we ran out of time at our last session for the board to generate on who of your marginalized populations you would like to ensure has an opportunity to provide input on your draft statement.
Okay, and so I thought it was something like that. So just so you know, I'm like really clear. Most of these organizations benefit from people being underserved. That's how they make their living. And so it's nice and feel good, but I don't have the nice words to say what I mean right now. So I'm gonna leave it alone.
Looks like it, Ms. Furtakis.
Okay, terrific. Thank you very much. And then the second piece of this, in our time, we have a 15 minutes or so. If there are, we're not going to be doing wordsmithing on the statement, but if there are some things now that you've had a chance to look at it again and reflect on it that were not included, that you would like to have since you are also a stakeholder group, that are identified that will be part of the input coming in from stakeholder groups. And I know one of you did have raised an issue that you wanted to ensure was covered, so I want to make sure you're given an opportunity to identify that and surface it.
Ms. Brill?
Thank you. And so my question for everybody is, how are we handling the word agency? Because even reading it again today, I know that some people felt it was important. I personally want to have a statement that everybody understands without having to look for footnotes or whatever. I think it needs to be in clear language, and I just think that people are going to be confused by the use of that word. So how are we going to explore that?
Dr. Robinson?
So as I watched our workshop from December, as I recall, when I raised the question of defining equity, as I recall, the answer was to put an asterisk and put a definition at the bottom. So I don't know why we can't do that for the word agency. And now all those people that all them agencies you just named, they're going to know what agency is. So maybe some parents won't, and we can explain it to them. So the question is, who is the equity statement for? Who's the audience? Is it the third grader? Is it the third grader's parents? Apparently, we think all these entities that make money off of helping are very, very important. They're going to all understand this already. So.
Dr. Robinson, I don't think it's fair to say all these entities make money off of poor people or underprivileged people. I mean, I'm on the board of Best Foot Forward, and those people make no money, and they're out there helping all these orphan kids. So, I mean, that's an unfair statement.
I think I qualified it. I'm not sure that I said all. If I said all, absolutely, then I was mistaken.
Okay.
Okay, but it's clearly my impression that many of them that's how they make their money, to help. Okay?
Ms. Brill?
In answer to the question of who we're writing it for, Dr. Robinson, when I look at it, you know, yes, those groups may understand the word, but for me, it's the general public, it's the families, it's those that are underserved, it's anyone that picks it up and looks at it and reads it. I want them to have a clear understanding of what we're saying. So I understand the idea of the asterisks, and we said that, but I just think it would be much easier to not have to have the asterisks and a definition with it, is my personal opinion. I just want whoever picks this up to say, wow, I get it, I understand it, and look, these, you know, this is a group that's really going to help us through these issues and support us.
Mrs. Whitfield?
First of all, I agree. I think I don't want to make this too difficult for anyone to understand, so that's kind of stuck out for me. But most importantly, I wanted to add one other piece to the equity statement, if we can, and ask you guys if it's okay. Right after we had this meeting last time, Dr. Fenoy and I had an opportunity to speak to the Bangladeshi community, and really kind of brought to my mind how religion plays a role in equity, and the difficulty that we have. I was trying to figure out if it actually tied to equity, but one thing that they said that was really important to me was that children feel like, you know, their religion isn't being accepted, or it's hindering their ability to come to school. They may have to take time off. They feel like they're not getting excused absences, which is not true. For 30 years, we've had that in the policy. But the perception that they're not being treated equally because of their religion is definitely out there. So I think we should add that into the equity statement under our list of all of the organizations that we would like to, you know, respect, add in, you know, ethnicity, poverty, disability, language status, somewhere in there add in the word religion. And then I guess we really should add some religious organizations to the list before this.
Ms. Brill?
Sorry about that. Thank you. And that's one of the reasons I added the Jewish community. But as you were speaking, Mrs. Whitfield, I thought of the Muslim community. We really need to reach out. I know, I don't remember the name of Mohammed Chaudhry's organization, but you know, we need to reach out to them as well.
Those were the Bangladeshi that we met. They're Muslim. They did have one Hindu group on that call as well.
It's a different group, though, than the Bangladeshi.
Oh, yeah, it's just the reason that it brought it up to me. But yeah,
Thank
Muslim
you.
organizations.
Mrs. Andrews?
And I think once we draft this equity statement and our vision, as I read through some of the other districts across the country, most of the main pieces are real clear, and then they had core values, they had terminology, focus areas, and things like that that would help people understand exactly what you're talking about in your equity statement as well as in your vision. And they had, you know, a lot of graphs, terminology, and everything to help people understand. So I think once we can kind of situate what we're talking about in the generic terminology that we have here, I think it's going to have to be broken down to other levels so that people will understand exactly what these words mean and how you are going to utilize them in helping students as well as schools and community.
Ms. Furtakis, on the religious issue, where do you think that fits in, and how do we put that in here?
Well, since that was the issue that I wanted to make sure got raised, because it didn't get added in at the time we were doing this. But this is an important piece of stakeholder input, and what I would recommend is that this be part of the information that's provided when you're going out to your stakeholder groups, that yes, we recognize that this needs to be added in. We're collecting all of it, and then this will be coming back to the board. So at this point in time, what I would be doing is ensuring that that's in the notes as stakeholder input. It also has now rippled out into other groups you'd like to talk to, which would be very appropriate to get your faith community's input on this. So I wouldn't try to, with the time that we have, to wordsmith this right now, but put it up at the top as input coming back and to be figuring out. And it may become very clear as you're getting input from others where they would like to see that.
Ms. Brill?
Thank you. So I think that one thing we need to do is in the 4th paragraph of the draft equity statement, when we're listing the groups, race, ethnicity, poverty, disability, just add the word religion. And that's a simple way to add it right there, and then we can have it in, in the other area. But it with one word puts it right in there.
Any input on board? Ms. Furtakis?
If there's consensus on the board to go ahead and just add that in at this point, then go ahead, but I would want to make sure that there was consensus on the board to do that.
Shouldn't it be religious affiliation, Ms. Brill, instead of just religion? I mean, we're talking about poverty, disability. I don't know if religion is in the same category as poverty and disability.
I would just say religion. I mean, people understand what religion is.
Well, it says will eliminate.
Will eliminate, okay.
Will eliminate.
Acknowledges the existence of, and will eliminate systems, processes, mindsets that perpetituate
Race, religion. I don't know.
Religion as a predictor of
Yeah.
achievement.
Yeah, it is.
Because don't you all think that all of this, we become doctors and lawyers?
Yeah, the end part, it ties it in when you put it as predictors of achievement.
Right.
I don't know, actually, maybe I'm starting to think of religious affiliation, because it's not the religion that is predicting your achievement, it's your affiliation with it. So I kind of think we have to go with the legal mind on this one.
And this is why I'm suggesting that you highlight it so that it will become clear as you're getting more input where this should go, what the term should be, but to ensure that the concept is going to be included.
Ms. Brill?
I don't have a problem with religious affiliation, however you want to put it. Religion, religious affiliation, just getting the words in there, I think is fine. I'm not going to nitpick about it.
Board members, Ms. McQuinn, go ahead.
No, I'm okay with that. You can get our agreement on that first.
Is everybody okay with adding religious affiliation in there? Dr. Robinson says yes. Mrs. Andrews, Mrs. Whitfield already suggested it. Ms. Ayala says yes. Ms. Brill shaking her head yes. Mrs. McQuinn, yes. So we'll add those words in there. Ms. Furtakis?
Great. Okay. Are there in the 5 minutes we have left for this part of the discussion, are there any other things that the board would like to surface as part of stakeholder input?
Mrs. McQuinn?
Okay, I know we're not wordsmithing, but in terms of agency, I've been working on that because it's been bothering me too, but I really wanted it there. So if you go, though, to the definition, it says families, staff, and communities will develop the capacity to act independently and to make their own free choices. It fits right in there if whoever's doing it just puts the definition in as it applies to equity.
So you're suggesting we put that as the asterisk footnote?
I wouldn't asterisk, I would get rid of the word agency and put in the definition of agency.
And say those words again? Closer to your microphone.
Sociological definition, the capacity of individuals to act, so I would not put of individuals, the capacity to act independently and to make their own free choices.
Anybody have an issue with replacing the word agency with that? Dr. Robinson?
So I appreciate the attempt, but that doesn't sound like agency in the current sense. So people that have agency know that they belong. And they have resilience. And they will find the way to succeed. So it's stronger than that. That's agency implies strength.
And I can assure you that when you're going out and talking to people, this word is going to come up, and and whoever's leading that discussion is going to need to, have a couple of definitions ready to explain it. And I know that people will be giving you feedback on that particular word, and so you'll have a lot for the board to consider when this comes back to you.
Board members, anything else on agency that you want to say at this point? Go ahead, Ms. Frakakis.
Okay, if that's, then the only other thing I wanted to note was to give you all kudos, since the version of your draft statement you have in front of you has gone through a grammar review, and there were only 2 very small things that were identified. So I wanted to congratulate you not only on the content of the work that you did, but also that the readability of it, and what a great job that was. So if there are no other comments people would like to make, we can move on to the next piece, but I want to give you one last opportunity if there's something you'd like to say.
Mrs. Whitfield?
If we come up with other organizations that we think the equity statement needs to be run by, can we just share that with Ms. Villavicencio? Is that all right with everyone? I'm getting a list of Muslim-facing organizations right now, and I want to make sure that they get included.
I see a lot of head shaking. Ms. Villavicencio said she can take care of that.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Frakakis, that's it for us.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. This was really valuable and will be very helpful for those who are doing this part of the work now for you. So next slide, we're now going to go into the mission vision discussion, and what we pulled up for you were the information from your discussion in December. There were several things that were identified for both as comments, and we can just put those up on the animations so that people can see them. And the just reviewing it through an equity lens, which we are doing. Some disconnect, which we had identified. Both milquetoast, this should be driving what we are actually doing. Would like to live them. That's the action part that's already been identified. One person said that they say everything we need to say, we just need to make it happen. So I think you can see with the work that you've been doing since December, that I hope there's some head nodding that you're seeing these things. And also we highlighted some specific comments related to mission and the vision. And just that's there for you, just as a little framing for the conversation we're going to have moving forward. I think with all the foundation that you've been given in your 2 workshops already, some things in here that may have been either confusing or that you had questions about should be getting some clarification now, simply because you've been building to your knowledge base and background. And given that, then at this point, we're going to move into the handout that you were provided that is, and this is going to be pulled up on the Google document. And we're going to use a similar process to what we used last time with looking at the board's input and examples that were provided to you, and looking at what you might want to be pulling out to be working on these. And if you've got that document in front of you, it starts off by listing both your current mission and the current vision. And just as a reminder, next to current mission, it says the mission is the core district work or responsibility. So that's what that is to encapsulate. And then the vision is what your preferred future or aspirational outcome is for your students. And underneath that, from the December workshop, there were 2 reflection questions. And underneath it are the barriers that were identified that the board had identified and that we have expounded on, and that you've started to call out in your equity statement about what you want to be addressing. And then in the vision, there were some aspirational statements looking in the framing of what will the district look like in 5 years if equity is embedded across your system. And so you can see from that there are all students ready for kindergarten, all students by 3rd grade reading on grade level or above, all achievement gaps closed, all students will graduate, all students ready for career college by graduation, which are all great examples of aspirational statements. The second page of this, just to dive into the immediate feedback that the board provided for this workshop, I just wanted to note that one person is suggesting to retain the current mission and vision. Two people said that they didn't have something that to submit. Two board members did not respond, and two responses to the pre-work were received, and so that's what you're going to be seeing in front of you, related to the words to consider, principles to incorporate, some examples of mission phrases to consider, vision statements to consider, and then the last piece of this is are the examples that were provided to you in December of both mission and vision statements from other school districts that are approaching their work through an equity focus. So that's the layout of the document that we're going to be working through. And I want to give you a couple of minutes to just go through it on your own, so that you have a chance to digest that now that I've laid it out for you. So I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes for you to read through this.
Mrs. McQuinn?
After our 5 minutes, I just want to have
Okay.
input. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, my timer has gone off. Does anyone need any additional time?
I think we're okay. Ms. McQuinn?
Yes, I have two, but I'll come back to the other one. Are you, Mary, do you want to say something first?
No, the only thing I was going to say is, and I want to make sure that Ms. Brill is going to be able to participate fully and that things can be seen clearly. So my suggestion is going to be that we start with your mission and look at what the district's current mission is, and get that in a format that can be easily seen by everyone. I'm going to be struggling to try and see it myself virtually, but that we start with looking at that and anything that you would like to suggest as a revision to it, and we'll work from that first and then go into the vision.
Thank you. I'm one of those who very much likes our current mission statement, and I recognize from some of the comments with saying it's a good statement, we just don't do it. So that'll come back later. But I think for me, what has to be reworded is his or her is no longer gender neutral. And if you go to our vision statement, the word their, THEIR, is used. So that's the only piece I saw that we need to correct.
Before I call Ms. Whitfield, Ms. Vicencia or Mark, can you widen the screen and take away the margins on either side and fill the screen so it's a little larger for those of us that have visual issues? Is that better? Is that better? Thank you. Whose hand did I see? Mrs. Whitfield.
Thank you. I actually wrote a couple of these other missions, phrases to consider. I think our current mission is too long and unwieldy, and I think our vision could be very long. I think that makes more sense, is to really write some things into the vision. So I really like the first one, to educate and inspire our students in an equity-focused system of schools. I think it kind of ties in all the things that we need to do and makes it very short. And then for the vision, I kind of was looking at our equity statement, and we wrote in here, the school district of Palm Beach County acknowledges the existence of and will eliminate blah, 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 blah as predictors of achievement. So I was thinking for a vision, it would say that our vision is that all of these things are no longer predictors of achievement. So our vision would be that we accomplished what we said we would do in our equity statement. But as far as the mission goes, I really just like that first one a lot. I think it's short, and I think we should really attempt to not say so much so that people can just say it without really thinking about it. Everyone around here would know what it was. If we do stick with the first one, though, big fan of taking out his and her. Thank you.
Other comments, board members? Including Mr. Superintendent. Dr. Robinson? Oh, you're taking off your mask. I thought you were going to prepare to say something. So does the board want to keep the current statement and just change the word his and her to their? Just leave the mission statement the way it is?
McQuinn does.
Mrs. Whitfield, you'd like the shorter one?
Yeah, that's what I was saying, to educate and inspire our students in an equity-focused system of schools. I like it because it's short. I like it because I think everyone could remember it. I've never remembered the mission. I've seen it a bazillion times, and I still, it doesn't stick in my head. And I think missions should be really short. When I was doing research this weekend on it, I looked through a bunch of mission statements from different organizations throughout the country, and they're, really impactful if they're very short and, really get to what we're actually trying to do. I think to remind us, I mean, we include students in that, inspire, educate, which is important. I think we're really focused on equity, so I think that's important. I don't know, I just really like it.
Ms. Brill?
Thank you. So I could go either way. I could go with what we have, changing it, or doing what Mrs. Whitfield suggested. When we get to the vision, I do have a different idea than what we have, which I'll explain afterwards, but I think either one would work.
I like Mrs. Whitfield's suggestion myself. Other board members? Mrs. McQuinn?
I won't fight you to the death on this, but
Go ahead, I'm ready.
But could we just go with the beginning of the school district, Palm Beach County is committed to providing, we already have equity in there, a world-class education with excellence and equity, period.
Dr. Robinson?
So, yeah, I mean, in my mind, all of it's in play. I just have trouble keep using the word equity. I don't remember us defining equity. Was I asleep at the wheel when we defined equity? Do we have a working definition of equity that we've agreed to? Okay, so, like, put a pin in that. But I'm going to tell you, when I was doing my review, what I wrote, okay, these are just loose thoughts. I had striving and learning. That's just hanging out there by itself, right? Then I have every student, every day, preparing you to make your dreams come true. So that was my best idea.
Any comments? Mrs. Andrews?
I think as I looked at all of the different mission statements, most of them are short, and they're saying the same thing. I think when we get to vision, it's going to be the piece where you're going to actually have to put the action into what you're actually doing. And so when I read our mission statement here, it just causes me, you say, a world-class education with excellence and equity to empower each student to reach their highest potential. And I know we say that, and it sounds just very, very ambitious, and this is what we do. But I don't know, this world-class education, I really would hope that we would really do that, but I don't know if we do that, and maybe with what we're doing now is going to help us get there. So I just think there could be some other words. That's why I like the pieces that I put in there about making sure that equitable and respectful learning environments and that students are receiving the supports needed to reach their potential, things like that. You know what I'm saying? Because I'd like for every kid to have a world-class education. And I know that's what we mean, but, I don't. And I'd like to say that, but I'd like for some words, some more concrete words to help me understand what that means.
Ms. Andrews is raising a really good point, because there were some things that I underlined in this that your mission should be short. What is the point of having it if people can't say it? If they're asked what's the district's mission, everybody should be able to say what it is. So shorter is better and is more impactful. You have words in here that are subjective, and they are, and this conversation is raising that. What exactly do you mean by a world-class education? Would everyone in your system or your community reading that know what that means? Would they have the same understanding or common understanding of what that means? The same for the words responsible and productive. Those are coming from a specific cultural norm, and it may mean something different to different people. So when you're looking at mission, and again, remember, this is the district's core work or responsibility. The one that was suggested by Ms. Whitfield, pulling it out, to educate and inspire our students in an equity-focused system of schools. Okay, the district's core mission is to educate, and that leaves a lot of room for what is that education going to look like. To inspire, if you're inspiring students, that is actually covering the issues around social emotional learning and the climate within which they are getting their education. If they're going to be inspired, which is positive asset-based language, as opposed to feeling like their spirits are being and their dreams are being crushed. And when you're saying that it's equity focused, you're embedding it in what it is that how you're going to be approaching this core work. So those are just some comments and thoughts I have to, as I was looking through this, that I wanted to put out there for your consideration.
Mrs. McQuinn.
Okay, I can live with it, except, are we a system of schools or are we a school system?
You know, I spent a lot of time thinking about that. I don't know.
Well, we say the school district of Palm Beach County, so I feel that we're a school system rather than a system of disparate schools.
Dr. Robinson.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that's a good phrase too, but I do think we need to figure out if we mean school system or system of schools. We have, in my opinion, we're a system of schools. We have a whole bunch of different schools that are very different, differently resourced, getting different kind of outcomes. I mean, maybe we want to work as a school system, like in a more thoughtful, cohesive manner that's student-focused. But right now, I don't think we are. So okay, period. I just put it in there because she's giving
So
me.
let me respond to that, but we keep saying we don't do it. We know we don't do it. But it's what we are committed to doing. I don't think our mission and our vision is we're not doing it. It's what we're committed to doing. So, I'm going to push back on that part because all of this work that we're doing, I think, is because then through our strategic plan, we are going to make it happen. So, you know me, I like cutting words out of things, so thank you, Ms. Whitfield.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I would agree with both Dr. Robinson and Ms. McQueen. I think a system of schools is exactly what it says. It's a system of individual schools who, in theory, would be working towards a common goal. But a school system implies that then we will hold people accountable as a system to that particular direction. And I think for us as an organization, as I've been taught the history over the last 5 years, at one point we were designed to be a system of schools. That was the goal. We were, complete autonomy at the school level. And so if the desire is to move in a much more cohesive, collaborative function moving forward, I think those phrases really matter.
Mrs. Whitfield, I think I saw your hand.
Thanks. I'm fine with school system. I think that's a really good point, and I don't want us to be disparate schools anymore. I think that's something that we shouldn't be doing. I was just thinking about some of the other mission statements that I read, and I feel like the best ones are, what do you do on your best day, really? So like, if we were on our best day, what is the actual thing that we're doing on our best day? Not how badly we're not accomplishing everything we want to do, but what are we doing on our best day? And I think on our best day, we do want to inspire kids, and I do want to see us educating kids, and I like that it's focused on students, because that's where, when we're really doing what we're supposed to be doing, that's what it is to me. But I think that maybe if that helps you, that helped me to kind of like wrap my mind around what it is that we should do. So it's just a suggestion.
Ms. Ayala.
So I don't mind going shorter. I agree with that comment because it would be cool to be able to have this known and said and remembered so that people actually put it into their everyday actions, not just students, but everyone in the system. Did anyone look at the Roseville area schools and feel like that could be a good base? It's short to the point, everyone could remember it. I don't want the exact language, but I felt that that's where we're leaning for those of us who think it should be shorter and more easily remembered. Roseville, it's third one under examples of mission statements from December workshop, quality teaching and learning for all, equity in all we do. Roseville Area Schools, Minnesota. Maybe that's a good launching point for wordsmithing something here.
I like it.
Okay, I have a question.
Dr.
So
Robinson?
I just wondered if their definition of equity is the same as ours when we figure out what it is. I'm just stuck, y'all, because we keep using the word and we haven't defined it, and it bugs me. Because I was taught that you can't use the word in the definition of the word. So I'm just a little bit stuck. And I'm going to try to leave it alone now because I can tell I'm irritating you, Mr. Barbier.
I just haven't had my meds today, don't worry about it.
Okay, without using the word equity, and I was looking for it because I saw it somewhere, not defining equity, but it is everything that every kid needs to be educated. So everybody doesn't need the same amount. Again, I saw it in all of our words somewhere, but it is, equity is what every student needs to have a high-quality education.
Yes, equity is need-based. If there is one word to be describing it, it's need. It's not same. It's the basic principle that we use in raising our children. We give them what they need. We don't give them exactly the same thing because it's not what they need. And you know, the hope is that all of the children coming into the system, we are seeing them and what their needs are. And when you say that you're having an equity-focused school system, let's just take that verbiage, you are saying that you are going to be prioritizing student needs to be able to educate them and inspire them.
Dr. Robinson?
Okay, so I want to still work with that first, the first phrase. So, and I'm just raising questions. I'm not trying to make it longer, but to educate, affirm, and inspire our students in an equity-based school system. I don't know, focused, we're looking at it. It's not foundational. Just a thought, I don't know.
Comments, board members? Mrs. Whitfield?
I like that. I think equity-based makes more sense when you say it like that. That does make a lot of sense. I don't love the quality teaching and learning for all. It just feels kind of like it's just less mission and just like a state of being that I hope we achieve, but I don't know. I kind of like that the two at the beginning, or like an action in the beginning, an action verb.
What was the other word you put in there, Dr. Robinson? To educate?
Affirm.
Affirm?
The equity-based instead of focused makes sense. The other word you might want to consider to get it to the heart of what I think I'm hearing is an equity-embedded school system, equity-based school system. that concept of that this is infused in all that you're doing.
That sounds good to me.
Got a
Sounds
couple
good to
heads
me.
shaking, 3 heads shaking yes. Waiting for Mrs. Whitfield to. Ms. Brill? So, Ms. Furtaka, say it again exactly the way you just said it, please.
If in the notes that I'm taking, I'm hearing to educate, comma, affirm, comma, and inspire our students in an equity-based, infused, embedded school system, whichever one of those 3 words is resonating with you.
She said equity embedded. I think I saw heads nodding with
Embedded?
embedded.
The only thing that worries me about embedded is that it's a bigger word, and based is a little bit of a more basic word, just for translation and understanding of everyone.
Mrs. McQuinn?
We talked about embedding it throughout our strategic plan and every single part of our strategic plan. So,
I'd just like to add, it's stronger. It's a stronger word, and if we mean what we're saying, we're certainly going to put it in. Now, based is just a generic sort of word there. I think if you say embedded, people know that you're really going to do something. You're going to put it in and make it happen.
So, Ms. Villavicencio, can you take out focused or based and put in embedded, equity embedded school system? Okay, board members, we like that? Dr. Robinson shaking her head yes. Ms. Whitfield, yes. Ms. Andrews?
Yeah.
Yes. Ms. McQuinn, yes.
We lost a few of our members. Love them to like it, too.
Ms. Ayala's getting interviewed outside, so she told me she's going to be out for a few minutes. We can wait for Ms. Brill to come back. Ms. Furtakas, why don't we,
Would it be appropriate to take a break at this point then? Because this is it sounds like you're getting there, but it is important to ensure that your colleagues' input is part of this.
all right, why don't we do that? As soon as Ms. Brill comes back, I'll let you know.
Thank you.